G'day viewers, we're at Stuttgart and we're going to learn how to drive the DB-BR483 Cabcar, which I've decided is a German train that doesn't like me. Or maybe I don't like it. Maybe it's mutual, we'll see. But anyway, it's an interesting unit to drive. Let's jump in, usual way, open the door and step in or climb up, depending on which prompt you want this second, and then close our door. Now, before I wander over and sit down, I'm going to turn on one of the safety systems, Sifa, which is a Vigilance. It will sound periodically, excuse my hiccups. It will sound periodically, and if you don't acknowledge it in time, it stops your train. Down here, I'm going to turn on the other one, which is PZB. PZB is signalling and speed. So if you don't acknowledge a signal in time, or if you fail to slow down for it, it will stop your train. Next up is our headlights. I'm going to change them over to headlights. So from the 2 red dots, which was tail lights, to I think it's 3. Yes, 3 red dots for headlights. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, you don't normally have to do, but if you get a fault which tells you that your passenger lights have gone off, you have to come down into this compartment down here, which is down near the end of the first car, just about there. Here's the panel, and we're going to open up this door and press the wagon lights on, the train lights on button, and that will pop the lights on, which were already on anyway, but if you've got a fault, that's how you clear it. Okay, let's pop back into the cab now and close the doors so we can't hear the riffraff. To the left of our chair is contact signaler, and we don't need to worry about anything else on that panel. And no, I don't want to give it up actually. And down here we have our wiper control. Now, if you put the wipers on, you can see they're running quite happily. You notice the left one's not. There's a button here. If you push that, the left ones will start to run. So we can put those both back to park now because it is, of course, sunny. So put it into park and they'll go into the park position. And we can turn the left one off. All right, we'll jump into the chair now. Open up the window if you desire it. There's a horn button there. There's another one down there which you can't quite get to when you're sitting down because it's for your foot. There are window blinds, and you'll notice it goes all the way down. And you can partially open and close them if you want to. You notice you can't get onto that one because it's behind the dash. It's occluded. So you just have to stand up and lean forward a bit, and then you can put the blind back up. And jump back into the chair now. Next control is the reverser, so we need to put the handle in, and I'm going to change that to the neutral position. That's up on your D-pad if you're using a controller, or it's the W key on your keyboard. Next up, we've got the brake key. You can turn that to the on position. So there's a direct brake, which is just this carriage. There's a dynamic brake, which is probably a rear static rather than a dynamic, but that's life. And we've got a driver's brake, which is the air brake. It's actually a combination, this one, because these handles, when they're in the same position, will lock together. If they're not in the same position, they don't. Right, we can see the brake pipe has charged up. We've got just under 5 bar there, and our brakes in the train have almost released. They've come down to 1 bar in the braking surface. Let's continue our setup. There's a desk light or a cab light if you desire it. And there's instrument lights I nearly always turn on. There's high beams or reduced or normal lighting. That's the headlights on the front. And we don't have to worry about those ones too much. There is a sand lever should you desire it. And train lights on and train power is on. All right, so it wants us to unlock the doors. You can either use this control and say I want to open the ones on the left, or on the other side you go onto the right, and then use this white one to open the doors, or you can use the Y or U key, so Y for left, right, U for right, or the left or right on your controller's D-pad. So if you're using a Xbox controller, for example, it would be the left one to open the left doors. All right, it's time to lock the doors, so I'm going to do that with the Y key on my TSEX controller here. Now, hopefully the controller levers are set up well enough, or this is going to be a debacle. All right, let's put the reverser into forwards and release the brakes. once we get less than 1 bar, we can move our throttle into the run-up position. And I'm just going to put it back into hold. If I can get it into hold, there we go. Because we don't want to go too fast because we will be under monitoring. Even though we seem not to be because we're not flashing the 70 and the 85. Oh, there we go. Look at that. It heard me. Yes. It also says it says safe to release, but I can guarantee you it's not because I'm looking at the signals up there going, no, I'm not going to release because then it'll whack me. There you go. Over here we have PZB acknowledge, PZB release, and PZB override, and you're probably going to need this one, circuit breaker. That's Sifa going off, so I've acknowledged that with the Q key on my TSCX controller, Q on keyboard, B or circle on controller. Acknowledging PZB is also B or circle on controller, but confusingly not on keyboard. It's page down on keyboard. If you're using B or circle, depending on your controller flavor, it prioritizes the acknowledgement. So if you've got Sifa and PZB going at the same time, you will have to press it more than once. I'm just rolling through this signal here. This is Sifa again. I'll just acknowledge that. Because I reckon I'm getting hit with a magnet here. And indeed, acknowledge. So press PZB acknowledge, so you can use the lever with the ball on top. Or you can use the page down key on your keyboard, or B or circle on your controller. Alright, let's have a bit more of a chat about the throttle lever. It's Sifa again. So I can put it in run up and it's increasing the taps, or I can put it in run down where it's decreasing the taps, or hold where it holds the current taps. I can also move it into the Z range, which is a percentage. And if I say 12%, for example, it will manage the taps by itself to give me 12% of the power, and it'll go up and down by itself. You don't need to worry too much about that. Before you put the brakes on, you need to go to the off position. So you go to run down, let's acknowledge Sifa. You go to run down until you get 0, and then you can go into the off position. You don't go into off until you get the taps at 0, and now you can brake. And that'll bring the train to a stop. Eventually. Brake one is not a particularly heavy brake application. That was Sifa. Alright, now in theory, with such a small brake application, I should actually be able to tap up. So I'm going to do that. Just run up until we get to... Oh, you can't on this one. That's interesting. All right, let's release the brakes then. And now we'll try and run up. There we go. Okay, put that on hold. Come on, hold. Go to hold. There we go. That actually ended up powering up a little more than I wanted, but that'll be okay. So if you try and tap up when the brakes are applied, it just won't let you. If you try and tap up and something else has applied the brakes, you may have to reset the circuit breaker. So this time round, I'm going to let Sifa stop me. I can see the next signal up there does appear to be fully green. So I will use PZB release. Safe to release indeed. PZB release is the middle of the BCB switches there. Releasing took us out of monitoring, so I don't have to worry about that speed anymore. We're allowed up to 100. Let's give it some more power. So I'm going to use the percentage in the Z range. And Sifa, you've got to watch how much power you're giving the beast, because you need to manage your taps. So as you're approaching a speed, then you'll need to if you need to speed up or speed down, you need to prepare well in advance with a tap changer. Now I'll show you an interesting little quirk. Next time Sifa sounds, I'm going to let it start applying the brakes and then I'm going to hit the button. I think you can see that button on the screen. It's a bit small, but I think you can. Right, so I'm going to let it start to apply. Alright, if I whack it straight away, I don't have to tap down even though it started to apply the brakes. I can leave my taps powered and it'll be fine. Now the brakes are releasing, it'll just continue to power. But this time when it sounds, I'm going to let it stop the train because I want to show you the reset procedure. So we're allowed to do 100, we are still accelerating. Sifa light is on, Sifa is sounding, and we'll let it stop the train. So to react to this, you can see the power's now gone back to 0. So we can acknowledge Sifa, but nothing much is going to happen. So we need to take our... wait till it gets to 0, 0, and then we can go to the off position. Now, sometimes you have to reset the circuit breaker and sometimes you don't. But you could always do it. So you can just reset here. I think we don't in this case because we've got line voltage. Alright, the brakes are coming off. So in theory, we should be able to run up. And we can, look at that, lovely. Run up, come on. Run up, you know you want to. It's a bit finicky with the controller, just like it's finicky with Rail-Driver. If you're using an Xbox or a PlayStation controller, it's the left and right. Sorry, right bumper and trigger. Or you can use the A and D keys on the keyboard, whichever works better for you. So let's just pop this back into a percentage range. Oops, we went the wrong way then. Don't go into off. I think I've messed that up because I put it into off when I moved the controller in the wrong direction. So let's just put it back to the off position. And hopefully we'll be able to recover this. Alright, let's give it some power. Will it work? Yes, we got away with it. Alright. Let's go up to... oh, let's go to 28 for the moment. We are going uphill, actually. So let's give it a bit more. 42% power, and you'll see it's starting to tap up now. It's doing that all by its lonesome. There's Sifa again. And we will head on our way to Ludwigsburg. Now, while you're learning the tap changer, and I actually do it all the time, be gentle with your taps. Because until you're used to it, they're quite an interesting thing to deal with. So remember, if you've got a speed change coming up, you need to be reducing your taps well in advance because it takes quite a long time. Sifa again. Ideally, you'd acknowledge Sifa when the light comes on. So let's just take it up to 60% now, or near enough to 62. Accelerate up to 100. We'll just take you on to the first station. So we're up to 80 kilometers an hour now. I'm going to reduce my percentage now because I know the taps take a long time to come down and the train will keep accelerating. There's Sifa again. So you notice we managed to get that back under control. We're doing about 95 kilometers an hour, which is comfortable. We are going up a slight hill, just watching the speed. I think we are losing speed, so let's just increase it just a little bit. So I'll come up to 30%. We're not stopping at this platform. We come up to 100, but we're coming up to 110 zone. I am going to reduce my power though. Oops, that much. because we're not going up much of a gradient anymore. We're now in the 110 zone. We've got 120 coming up. A little bit more power. Sifa. Ideally, you want to stay about 5 kilometers an hour under the limit. We do have a 120 zone followed by a 140 zone coming up. So I am still picking up speed a little bit, so I'll leave it alone. Acknowledge Sifa again then. We're getting close to our speed limit now, and we're not at the 120 yet, so let's bring our power down. The 120 will apply when the back of our train passes the speed sign. Here's the sign here, which says 12. So I can put on a little bit of power. Let's go back up to 20%. There's our friend Sifa again. Are you awake? Are you awake? Yeah, mate, I'm awake. We're going up a bit of a gradient, give it a bit more power. We also know that we've got into a 140 zone now. And we're still 5 kilometers from Ludwigsburg, so give it a bit more and let it accelerate. I wouldn't go crazy with the grip it and rip it with this train if I were you, because I think you'll regret it. Sifa. Sifa. Alright, we have reached 130. We are going up a gradient, so I'm going to start pulling the power back though. So I'm just going to bring it back down to about just under 30 for the moment. Let's see how the train reacts to that. We're holding speed with 30% power. The gradient's starting to slacken off. So we'll just keep an eye on it. Not quite going fast enough to maintain the timetable just yet. So we do want to pick up a little bit more, but we notice the gradient's almost back to flat now. There's cars and a passenger train. Cool. I can't say I was expecting that. Notice the speed is now creeping up again now that we're on the flat. So let's bring our power right back down to about 5%, and we'll let that manage the taps downwards. Just keep an eye on our speed, because you don't want to get up too close to the 140. We are losing speed again, because we're coming back up a gradient. We can see there's a 110 zone coming, so let's go into the rundown position, because we're going to take it all the way back down to 0, because we're going to need to brake. Once we reach the 00, we can put the throttle into off, and we can safely brake. So we'll go into brake 2, and you'll notice that 3 things have happened. We've got 2 bars in the brake cylinder, we've got 4.5 on the brake pipe, and also the regenerative brake, or not regenerative, the rear static braking has started to happen. So we can release these brakes now, because we're well below 110. It just took me a little while to explain all of that before I released them. So we're only 1.2 kilometers out of Ludwigsburg, so had we come down to the 110, we could just coast in now. So I'm not actually going to run up again. That means in this particular case, I will be late, but I'm going to be late anyway, because I spent so long explaining what was going on that we were already late when I started. There's our announcement, so that warns us we're getting pretty close to the station. So let's start gently braking. We'll just apply a minimum brake, which is brake 1 if it stays there. There we go. We can see our rear static braking is happening again on the left-hand gauge, and we need to brake really hard because I was talking too much and not paying attention. Lots of brakes, lots of brakes. And we're going to be okay. In fact, we're going to be remarkably good. Oh, how's that? All right, now the U key to start us off. If I'd been paying attention there, we could have braked a lot more gently, and you'll notice that I also was just running the dynamic handle instead of both. It's clever like that. But anyway, that's about all there is to this beastie. So, BR class 483, Cabcar. It's a lot like the other one, the 463. It's almost identical. It's so almost identical that I'd tell you it was a copy of the other one. And there's something else I should show you actually as part of this tutorial. It's kind of important. Let's pop back out to the main menu. Because if I go to Stuttgart Heilbronn and I want to run the 483, at least in this early access version, I don't know if this will be fixed for launch. I kind of hope it will. But you're about to see something interesting. Timetable, and I go 483. There isn't one. But if I go 463, look at that. There is one. And then I can choose the 483. Yep. Great. Sigh. How did that get out? But anyway, hopefully that'll be fixed for release. But I just thought that might be an important one for you to know. Similarly with the tutorials in the training center. In there, choose the 463 and then you can choose the 483 and it'll be fine. Alrighty, that's it for this tutorial. If you've got any questions, chuck them down below. It's a German train. It's meant to be annoying. Yep. Okay, bye.
We played a game.